Poštovani gledalci, dobar dan. Naš današnji gost je ambasador Sjedinjenih država u Srbiji, njegova ekscelencija Kristofer Hil. Mr. Ambassador, thank you so much for talking for magazine NIN.
My pleasure.
The general impression of the relations between Washington and Belgrade are on the rise. Military cooperation, I think, has reached its peak. Of course, political relations are burdensome regarding the Kosovo, but even there is a tactical rule: we agree to disagree. How do you evaluate the current relationship between Belgrade and Washington?
Well, I think you've pointed out some real facts that have guided the relationship. First of all, I think the U.S. and Serbia have a very good dialogue going. As you suggest, we don't agree on everything. We don't agree, for example, on Kosovo. But I think we do agree on the need for peace and security in Europe, and I think we very much agree on the fact that this Russian aggression in Ukraine needs to stop. So I think we have a lot to build on. And what I'd like to see is for us to do more. I think our two peoples have a lot in common, and I'd like to see a relationship that is really strengthened in the coming years.
As I said, the Kosovo issue is one of the main stumbling points between Serbia and the West, therefore to the United States. However, it seems that they are, after the Ohrid agreement, set some coordinates for the final agreement. How do you rate the passing time of that process?
I think the Ohrid agreement did set out some areas where we should clearly focus, and one of them is the need to create this association of Serb municipalities. This didn't start with Ohrid. You know, it's been around for some 11 years, and I think it's time it was implemented. But in the context of implementing, I think, a more clearer picture for Serbs living in Kosovo, I think there are also other elements that need to be addressed, and that is the normalization of the relationship between Kosovo and Serbia. And I think that can be pursued, and it needs to be done in the context really of a region, that is the Balkan region, that you know, begins to have more patterns of cooperation among all the countries. And I would hope that that could be accomplished. And frankly speaking, I'm disappointed that we haven't been able to do more.
The Ohrid agreement doesn't foresee de jure recognition of Kosovo by Serbia. Do you think that Serbia will have to that, in the order to become a member, will be forced to recognize Kosovo?
You know, I don't. I think what the Europeans are looking for is exactly what they say they're looking for, which is normalization. They want peace and security in the region, and certainly between Kosovo and Serbia. And I think they've made very clear that, you know, there are members of the European Union who do not recognize Kosovo. So I think the real issue is to try to have a normalization where these borders, are not going to be borders that divide, but rather borders that you know, bring them together, borders that join, really. And I would hope that people could understand that what we're really talking about here is the future and what people's lives are going to be like. And so I'd like to see a lot more progress done on this normalization agenda, and that's clearly what the EU has in mind.
Will the European Union, by admitting the entire region in its membership, resolve tension in the Western Balkan and at the same time reduce Russia and China influence in this area? Many analysts, including one of Politico's founder, Matthew Kaminsky, told us that he believed that it will not happen unless United States pushes EU to open the doors. Do you share his opinion?
Well, first of all, the EU is an organization that can make its own decisions. They don't need us to tell them what to do, and so I would be careful with that formulation that somehow it's our job to push them. But I think it is our job that when a country wants to join the European Union, when they have aspirations, we want to support those aspirations, and that's precisely what we're doing in Serbia. Serbia has some things it needs to do in the area of rule of law, issues like that, all these chapters that have now been opened with the European Union. So our task is to try to help Serbia in this undertaking, because I think it is quite clear that in the future Serbia's home will be in the European Union.
Serbia has not imposed sanctions on Russia, and it is notable that Washington and Brussels have already, for some time, not insisted on if they like to do the beginning of the war of Ukraine. What influenced the West to reduce pressure on Belgrade on this matter?
Well, I think we made very clear we would like Serbia to join sanctions, but Serbia has also taken some important steps to make it clear to Russia that Serbia does not agree with the aggression it's shown toward its neighbor, and I think those are very important. And we, I think, have a very good dialogue with Serbia, and I think Serbia has taken some very concrete measures to make it clear to Russia that what they have done in Ukraine cannot stand, and sooner or later they are going to have to achieve a peace agreement and get themselves out of Ukraine. So I think we have a good understanding with Serbia. As for the issue of their alignment with the Europeans, I'll leave that up to their discussion with the Europeans. But what's important for us right now is that Serbia has made clear where it stands on Ukraine.
The United States rarely and reluctantly change its foreign policy. I know that you are a career diplomat, but do you think that eventual change of administration in November election could reflect on your country's attitude towards Serbia?
You know, I don't interfere in Serbia's internal affairs, and nor do I interfere in the U.S. internal affairs. Yes, you're correct, we're going to have an election, but I would really emphasize the fact that we have interests as a country. We have very important interests as a country in Europe and in Serbia as well, and we'll see those interests followed in the whoever is whatever administration we're talking about.
I must ask you for your comment on All-Serbian Assembly that was held on Saturday in Belgrade. Your colleague, the United States Embassy in Sarajevo, has issued a strong statement condemning the conclusion and adoption to All-Serbia Assembly, pointing out that those conclusions do not represent the defense of Dayton peace agreement, and markers claim that they are deliberately attack the agreement and the state institution of Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Well, I tell you, the U.S. Constitution was formulated in 1789, and Americans are still debating that Constitution so many centuries later. With respect to Bosnia, Dayton is clearly the founding document of this Bosnian state. And Dayton, I think, is very much universally supported. It's supported by the Serbian government, it's certainly supported by our government. We're both signatories to the Dayton Accords, and that's the way to proceed. And I think the clear point about Dayton, it is very explicit in the Dayton Peace Accords, is you don't make unilateral decisions. It has to be done within the country as a whole. So. That was a big event over the weekend. I mean, quite an extraordinary manifestation, all these folk dances, all kinds of things that were going on here in Belgrade. But I think one thing that has to be understood by everybody is that Dayton is the basis for territorial integrity of Bosnia, territorial integrity of the entities in Bosnia, and that these elements of Dayton must be respected by all parties.
The prevailing attitude among the Serbian public is that the U.S. ambassador has influence on key decisions. The phrase "foreign ambassador will not shape our government" is often heard. How much influence do foreign ambassadors really have on the Serbian interior politics?
Yeah, I hear this a lot from people. I think you could be successful as a foreign ambassador in this country, in the Republic of Serbia, if you understand one thing. People here don't like to be told what to do. So if you have an idea, discuss your ideas, discuss it with people, try to have an understanding of how to go forward. But if you think you can go ahead and impose something on the Serbian people, well, you're going to have to think again.
One of the leaders of the Serbian opposition, Dragan Đilas, criticized you for your statement given on Sunday after municipal election that voter migration have stopped, and asked how you haven't seen Milorad Dodik vote enough.
Yeah, I can't speak to the issue of Mr. Dodik's residency. My own view is that Serbia certainly has some issues to resolve in its elections, but I like to think that there were improvements since December. And as for Mr. Gilas, I really don't like to communicate with people through the media. I rather do it directly. I think it's much more efficient and much more honest to do that.
But the Serbian opposition has repeatedly accused you that you are too soft on Aleksandar Vučić on the way how he leads Serbia. Way you support him and what you will blame him for the most?
You know, I think any foreign diplomat going to a country, any country, deals with the representatives of that country. And we certainly, the United States certainly deals with the representatives of Serbia, including President Vučić. So we will continue to deal with him as long as he's president of this country.
Let's go back to Kosovo. You condemned the tragic events in Banjska and call for an investigation for incident involving Milan Radojic, the person who is on the blacklist of United States. How do you look at this? Even after 8 months, the case does not even move closer to, and it's still deadlocked.
Yeah, I mean, our view is this is a person who confessed to being very much involved in this, in Banjska. It was certainly not a day that helped Serbian interests and certainly didn't help U.S.-Serbian relations. And so, you know, I would hope that this matter will move to the courts and there will be some accountability for what happened.
You already mentioned that you have a good relationship with the Serbian government, but the new government in Serbia include two persons who are under the sanction of the United States, Aleksandar Vulin and Nenad Popović. What is the Washington position on this, except formal disappointment stated by State Department?
Well, I think we were very disappointed to see them back in the government. As you know, they were out of the government, now they're back in. Look, I have to look at what's the best way forward for things we're trying to do with the Serbian government. And making comments on individuals in the Serbian government, I'm not sure is the best way forward. We certainly have made known our views on those two individuals, and I think I will allow that to stand and continue to do what I'm doing here.
How do you assess the current state of all those institutions that Serbia has to work on its process to join the EU? The rule of law, democracy, media, human rights, freedom, judicial reform, fight against corruption, etc., etc., etc.
I think that's what Serbia needs to do. It's a long list. I acknowledge that.
But do you think they are on the right way, right path?
Yeah, I think that's what they have to accomplish. There are some things that they are in better condition with than other things, but they have to keep working on this. I think the European Union, and I've tried to make this point clear in the past, the European Union has a right to say, look, we want your country in our union with us, but we'd like your country to solve some of your problems before you come into the European Union. And so that's what they try to do. I think the European Union has really tried to help Serbia not only address the problems, but help them with technical assistance to try to resolve these issues. And a big part of what the United States is doing in this country is to try to assist it in its aspirations to join the European Union. I do believe that is what the Serbian people want to do. Serbian president, Serbian government made that very clear that they have a central aspiration to join the European Union. We would like to help them do that. And it is not an easy process, but we would like to assist.
Let's go back to Serbia-US relationship. In Serbian society, there is still animosity, a certain kind of mistrust, and especially bitterness toward the US because of the NATO bombing of 1999. Yeah. How can this stance be changed?
You know, everything can be changed. It often takes more time than you'd like. And it also takes, I think, an effort to try to look toward the future, although the past seems to drag us back quite often. So I think it's just something we have to work on. I'm very aware of the problem. Certainly, we've reached this 25th anniversary of the NATO bombing, and so it was a time of great reflection. Again, I would never ask people just to ignore the past, but I think, you know, for the sake of our children, for the sake of our children's children, we really should try to spend more time looking forward than looking backwards. I mean, that's why we have eyes in the front of our head rather than in the back of our head.
In indirect and direct way, you have been present in this region for almost 3 decades. I remember I met you first time, I think, 98, in some muddy village of Kosovo. How disappointed are you that they were still talking about some things that were current affairs the same?
Yeah.
I primarily, I'm referring to Kosovo and Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Well,
how is it disappointed for you?
You know, if it's kind of a personal question, how disappointed am I? I'm very disappointed that 25 years later, we're talking about some of the things we dealt with 25 years ago. I really see Serbia as a player in Europe. I see Serbia as a country that has a lot to offer. When I look at the tech sector here, when I look at a lot of things going on here, I would like to see us all kind of move forward. That's a lot easier to say than to do, and you know, one should not minimize what's happened and the bitter history for many Serbs of what's happened. But I hope we can move forward and alleviate some of that frustration.
We talk about difficulties and burdensome issues. Finally, I have 2 personal questions. They are very easy.
Yeah.
How do you feel in Serbia today? They see you at many public events, concerts. How do you live in Serbia? Your predecessor like the food. You are like
the food's great.
Maybe some different type of entertainment.
I like a lot of things about living here. My wife Julie and I really enjoy our lives here. We have a lot of friends here. We enjoy the atmosphere in Serbia. You know, the one thing we don't enjoy is when people are pessimistic. I think there's a lot to be optimistic about. You know, I've lived in a number of parts of the world. I've lived all over the place, and I think there's a great deal to be thankful about and optimistic about in this country, and I can assure you my wife and I enjoy this country very much.
If you had to explain life in Serbia to, let's say, your American friend, what would you tell them? And would you go so far even to recommend them to come and live in Serbia today?
I recommend Serbia for many friends to come and visit. I mean, I like the fact that everyone here likes sports, and I do too. And I think it's a very nice, you know, atmosphere for people who enjoy the competition in sports. So that's one thing. It's a very cultured country. I mean, the arts here, the music, and the food. I will add the food as well.
Do you miss American football?
I do miss American football, but fortunately we have things like televisions to help us with that.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you so much for talking.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure.
Poštovani gledalci, bio je ovo ambasador Sjedinjenih Američkih Država u Srbiji, njegova ekscelencija Kristofer Hil. Thank you one more time.
Okay, thank you.